And a pleasant good evening to you on a Kansas City Chiefs Instant Reaction show on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and WIBW News on Facebook. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dzwierzynski of 580 Sports Talk here hanging out with you tonight. Thanks for kicking it with us and reliving a 28-7 Chiefs victory over the Washington Commanders tonight at Arrowhead Stadium. It's 5 wins and 6 for the Chiefs, so they improved to 5-3 on the season. It is 4 losses and 5 for the reeling Commanders, who are now 3-5. Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and like us on Facebook as well, WIBW News, if you enjoy the video here tonight as we relive a game that was very strange for the first 30 minutes of it. Patrick Mahomes did something he'd never before done in his career, throw interceptions on back-to-back drives to start a game. That had never happened in Patrick Mahomes' career, and it allowed Washington to stay in the ball game. A late first-half touchdown by Terry McLaurin, beautiful toe drag work in the corner of the end zone, meant the score was tied at 7 going into halftime, and even though it felt like the Chiefs certainly had done what they wanted to do on offense, it was up for grabs going into the second 30 minutes. And then the Chiefs put belt to ass. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about that second half. That was the team I believe to be the best in the league, flexing and looking like the best team in the league. 3 touchdown drives, easy as you please, to put the game beyond doubt, win it 28-7. That was a level of seriousness and focus and locked in, or whatever it is that you want to call it, that championship teams are made of. And we have seen the Chiefs, after a season where they really didn't get much to that level until playoff time in the 2024 campaign, they are showing in October of 2025. This goes to 11 when we decide it goes to 11. And they took it to 11 in the second half, a very impressive 30 minutes of football as they win their 5th game of their last 6. That's my first takeaway from tonight. Brendan, what was your primary takeaway from what you saw this evening?
I'm actually glad that you phrased it that way, that, this goes to 11 when we decide that it goes to 11, because this game for 3 quarters 2 through 4, went pretty much how I expected. The Chiefs were just by far the better team. Washington's defense is bad. I mean, it's just not a good unit. It's been a long time since a Dan Quinn defense has actually lived up to the hype of having Dan Quinn coach your defense. It's been quite a while for that. And they were down Jaden Daniels. They've been banged up elsewhere. Tunsil was in and out of the game and then eventually out. Like, the Chiefs should have blown them out in this game. I think the final spread was 10.5, if I remember correctly. It was 12.5 at one point after the Daniels news came down. Like, the Chiefs should have blown them out, and they did. I think I picked a 17-point win on 580 Sports Talk on Monday afternoon. The start of the game felt like, this is really the one downside of the game. It felt like a Chiefs team that knew the star quarterback on the other team was not going to play, and they had a crappy defense they were facing, and they didn't quite need to lock in. Like, there was a ball that hit Travis Kelce square in the hands, popped up into the air, and got picked off. Like, yes, Mahomes had 2 interceptions, but I mean, come on. Like, that's one of those classic situations when you wish that there was a different stat for plays like that, because it's just ridiculous that it's assigned to the quarterback. It was not his fault. It was a good throw, and Kelce just completely botched it. But like that's what I'm talking about. It looked like a lack of focus, looked like a lack of concentration early on. And then I don't know if it was Patrick Mahomes did something. I don't know if it was Andy Reid. I don't know if it was just, this is a group that has been there, done that before. They know what it looks like and knew that they weren't showing it at that moment. And then they decided that they wanted to show it, and they wanted to be the best team in the NFL, and they played like it for 3 quarters. So shout out to Terry McLaurin, because he was awesome with his 2 catches that just were preposterous, both going to make SportsCenter top 10 tonight, I'm sure. But outside of that, that was a pretty poor performance by Washington overall. I thought it was a very undisciplined performance by Washington overall, and the Chiefs did what the Chiefs should do, and that is blow out a clearly inferior team in a game like this. It was kind of crazy to say this, Dan, but that was a TCB game. That was taking care of business. You should have crushed them, and you did.
Yeah, and it may have taken a while to get to that point, at least on the scoreboard. But yeah, it always felt, even after the 2 turnovers that the Chiefs had on their first 2 drives, the first one, great play by Lattimore to pick that ball off. That was Hollywood Brown. I don't know why you're throwing a back shoulder throw to Hollywood Brown, to be completely honest with you, but that was a
Agreed.
first and still the only one of Mahomes' interceptions this season that was his fault. But beyond that, once they got in the second half, just everything started clicking. And this was the trick bag that Aaron Schatz of FTN said that the Commanders were in. The Commanders are really good playing zone, but they're terrible playing man. Mahomes, really good against zone, like crazy good against zone. Not as good against man, but the Commanders decided to do what they were good at, and Mahomes just torched it all night long. He created space with his legs. He found the seams. He found receivers moving. It's no coincidence that Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice each had big games, both over 90 yards receiving. It was really crazy to say this about a quarterback who threw interceptions on his first 2 drives. It was another masterpiece from Mahomes. He was brilliant.
Yeah, he was tremendous, and I've got some numbers here for you in a second. I do just want to point out, you mentioned that Mahomes' numbers against zone are ridiculous, and against man, they're a little more shaky. I think that's more of a reflection of their talent at receiver that the Chiefs have than Patrick Mahomes' ability. I mean, go back into the early part of his career, and the guy who, you're going to give me man-to-man matchups? Okay, sure. Like I'm just going to tear you to shreds. Or the guy who we saw in 2022 with that team that I just think the world of that team that won a championship, and you got a bunch of too high man looks, and okay, I'm just going to dice you up, pick you apart. I think that the players the Chiefs have, like Rashee Rice is a really good player. They're still getting him back in the swing of things. It was over a year since he had last played meaningful football. And that's a guy that makes big plays in space. He's a guy who is at his best working in space. Travis Kelce always has been good at that, but especially now with reduced athleticism, same kind of thing. Hollywood Brown at this point, you just said, why are you throwing back shoulder to Hollywood Brown? That's a guy that you don't love in a one-on-one matchup like that. He's not running the speed he was running at the combine back when he was drafted, 7-8 years ago now. So I think you've just got a bunch of players that fit best against those kind of defenses. Not that they can't find success against teams that are going to man them up more, especially teams that have good corners. But against the defense like this, I mean, it was the perfect kind of mismatch. Shoot, that big play to Juju over the middle that he got a bunch of yak and was being lauded by Troy Aikman on the broadcast. At this point in Juju's career, he's kind of crazy young for how long he's been in the league at this point, to call him a wily veteran or whatever. But that dude knows what he's doing. He's going to find a way to get open, hold on to the ball, and if there's a yak opportunity, he can take advantage. He doesn't need to still make an impact. I've been really impressed by Juju this year, by the way, in a limited role for what he is now as a player after all the knee injuries. I've actually been very impressed by what he's been able to do. But you mentioned Mahomes and the fact that this was, a masterpiece, and you just look at the raw numbers. We've got them trailing on the screen right now. They had the 3 touchdowns, even after the 2 picks, just shy of 300 yards. So I don't know if I have obsessive compulsive disorder to a very minor degree or what, but Mahomes 299, Kelce 99, figure something out, Andy. Do something. quick little arrow route in the flat. I need a yard. It just that irks me. Hate numbers that end in 9. Anyway, my neuroses off to the side. You look at the advanced numbers in this game. There's a stat called completion percentage over expectation. So there's this model that takes the depth of target, the part of the field, the down and distance all together. What should your quarterback's completion percentage be for the game? And then CPOE is how high above that did they get. Patrick Mahomes had a 10.9 CPOE today. That's the 88th percentile. And you don't want to think about math and percentiles right now. Here is what that means in layman's terms. He was friggin' awesome. He was putting the ball exactly where it needed to go. He was perfect. He was just absolutely magnificent in that regard. Same thing if you're into some of the other advanced metrics, the expected points added per play total, both of those nearly 90th percentile. I mean, we're talking if you saw 100 quarterback performances, this would be one of the 11 or 12 best you saw. That's a way you can frame it to make it make a little more sense if you're not super into all those advanced numbers. He was fantastic. He continued season where he's been awesome all year. Honestly, Dan, I think he made one bad throw. Not even a bad throw. I think he made one bad decision during the game, and that was trying to go back shoulder to old Hollywood Brown. Other than that,
he was awesome.
Was not his fault. He was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. I got to duck out real quick, but talk about the running game. It was really good tonight for the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right about that, and hopefully we'll have Dan back here in a minute. But the Chiefs able to run the ball really well as well. You know, it was actually one of my keys to the game when we broke it down. Well, Dan did most of the breaking down on 580 Sports Talk on Monday. Is that like why would you bother wasting run downs with the Chiefs offense against this Washington defense? Like Washington's run defense actually has been pretty good over the course of the year in terms of EPA, in terms of success rate. Some of these stats that have become super common, in NFL conversation circles in recent years. I said, why bother? Patrick Mahomes is playing like a man possessed. Washington cannot guard. They do not have good players on the back end of their defense. It's probably the weakest part of their roster, and it's far from a perfect roster in Washington. And yet the Chiefs came out and said, okay, nice thought. We're still going to do that. We're still going to run our stuff to actually quite a high degree. I mean, 30 run plays in the game. That doesn't include 4 Mahomes scrambles, but okay, 26 designed run plays, 38 dropbacks. That's about as close to even split as you're going to get with the Kansas City Chiefs. 4.9 yards a carry, 148 yards for the game. I've, again, got some of the advanced numbers up here if you're into that kind of thing. 42% success rate for the Chiefs. That's top 2/3 of every game. So you're looking at anything over 40% for success rate in the run game is considered pretty darn good. 42% for the Chiefs in this game. And it was especially good on late downs, which is kind of weird to say. I mean, they only did it twice, but they picked up first downs each time they ran it on either third or fourth down. Pretty impressive stuff overall from the Chiefs today. Moving the ball, you hope that Isaiah Pacheco is okay. I know our Spencer Dupuis right now is at Arrowhead Stadium. He is getting all the post-game audio, all that. Hopefully he'll have some insight for us coming up on Tuesday's 580 Sports Talk about the situation for Isaiah Pacheco, Dan. But just overall, a complete effort. There's the thought that you need to be balanced, run and pass. People instinctively hear back, okay, 50% run, 50% pass. No, that's not necessarily what that means, because you have to factor in play calling tendencies and who your quarterback is and all of those things. When you've got Patrick Mahomes, you don't want to run the ball 50% of the time. That's not balance. I thought the Chiefs, with 26 designed runs in this game, that it compared to 38 dropbacks and 4 Mahomes scrambles mixed in there, I think that's a great amount of balance. Everybody who touched the ball made an impact. Even Rashee Rice carrying the ball made an impact. Just a complete game, and you have to be pleased, I think, with the offensive line. They got a shout out, a couple different shout outs in the chat on the YouTube feed, but they did great clearing space up front, and Washington was just frankly overpowered throughout the game.
Yeah, it's kind of what we said that throughout the week that we weren't really sure what answers Washington had for the Chiefs offense. And they had a couple of good pass rush reps. They ended up with 3 sacks of Mahomes, and that was more productive than I expected their pass rush to be. And I think some of that, especially early, was the zone defense, the work of the zone on the back end, and Mahomes kind of trying to dissect it in real time and figure out what he needed to do, receivers figuring out what they needed to do. And they all figured it out. And in the second half, that really wasn't a factor anymore. Mahomes would use his legs to create the space, throwing on the run, some fabulous plays that he made in this game, some that rank. I mean, we're immune to them at this point because we've seen it so often since he came into the league. But some of the throws, some of the off platform, on the move, across the body, wrong foot, off, like jumping in midair and throwing the ball, like some of this stuff would be the best play of the season for like a dozen quarterbacks in the league, and it's just another primetime game for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think there's a ton you can say about the defense tonight. There were a couple of plays that Washington was able to make. They were able to scheme their tight ends and their running backs open against the Chiefs base defense, which teams have had some success doing. But make no mistake, Washington knew what time it was in this game, because they came out as an offense. They were trying to milk the clock. They came out in their opening drive like a service academy. They were waiting until 5 to snap the football. They knew the only chance they had was to shorten the number of possessions in the game and try and keep the ball as long as they could, because they want Mahomes on the field. They knew that was a losing proposition for them. And their first drive ended with the interception. Shout out to Mike Dana with the interception. Jack Cochran got an interception later in the game. So, boy, if you had those in a anytime interception parlay, would you like to buy me a house? Because I think you probably got some leftover money. So it was, I think, a very workmanlike defense performance. It was strong against the run. And once the game state got where it got in the second half, they turned Washington into a pretty one-dimensional team. And other than some McLaurin brilliance down the field, Washington didn't really have a whole lot for the Chiefs.
No, they really didn't. One individual that I want to make sure to shout out because I thought he popped regularly, George Karlaftis, I thought played a really good game today. He's been good all season. I know he was getting kind of beaten up on social media during the first few weeks of the year and a lot of, well, these pressures are empty. I don't want to look at pressure numbers. I want sack numbers, whatever. I think George Karlaftis is playing really, really well. He's been in the league long enough now, 2022 draft pick now in year 4. Like, this is a guy who, sorry to be Chris Collinsworth on you, but this is the kind of guy who, like, okay, we're done talking about ascending what he can be. No, this is what he is. And this is a guy who plays with a high motor, doesn't have an extremely deep bag. But if you're going to put a rookie tackle on him, he is going to eat him up. And we saw that against Josh Connerly all day. And I know Connerly has had a tough rookie season overall, some ups, but a lot of downs at this point. And he's young. He'll figure it out. I really liked him in the draft, but you're putting a guy who's having a lot of peaks and valleys on a week-to-week basis against a George Karlaftis who, if nothing else, is just going to be a thorn in your side the entire game. Not a fun matchup for Josh Connerly. I don't know why they didn't give him a little bit more help. I saw some Commanders fans on the Everything app that were saying, like, well, we should have given him more help. Well, he doesn't need help. He was such a high draft pick. Guys, who cares? Like, you're getting your quarterback killed out there. And I don't think Mariota played especially well. But when you've got, this big burly Greek man bearing down on you constantly, yeah, you're obviously going to struggle when that dude's right in your lap.
So it's 5 wins and 6 for the Chiefs as we wrap up this instant reaction on this Monday night. They are 5-3. They have allowed just 7 total points the last 2 weeks. They are blowing teams out and flexing their muscle. And once again, they got to a space where they didn't have to play their starting defense all of the snaps in the game. They were able to get them off of their feet in the fourth quarter. And that's important because on a short week, it's a trip to Buffalo to take on the Bills. And this is always such a marquee game on the AFC schedule. And Josh Allen has had the Chiefs number in the regular season. We know it's a different story in the playoffs, but this is certainly an important test coming up for the Chiefs. Yes, they've won 5 out of 6. Yes, their season's on course. Right now, I would say flatly, they are the best team in the AFC. But the Bills are going to have something to say about that. They just dropped a 40 spot on Carolina. They got to get all their guys off their feet in the second half. They're going to be rested. They're going to be ready. They're up for this game because they always are. Their crowd will be up for the game. This will be, I think, the real barometer of how far the Chiefs have come since their 0-2 start.
I agree with you about every single one of those things. I think you're spot on. I think that crowd is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great environment. They're going to be ready and raring for that game. I'm looking right now. They don't have a spread for it up yet with our friends at Prairie Band. So I'm going to check some other sites here to see if I can get a line for what we're thinking for Chiefs Bills. Look, the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. And you can say, well, if the playoffs had begun today, they wouldn't have been in the stop. They're the best team in the AFC. Right now, they're playing like the best team in the NFL. And frankly, I'm not sure exactly how close that is. I can't find a spread anywhere for this game right now. I'm just going to tell you because this is the point I wanted to make. Give me the Chiefs. Don't care. Give me the Chiefs. What are the Bills going to do to stop Patrick Mahomes? Seriously, no Ed Oliver for the game either, who has been playing well when he's been out there healthy this year. Like, what are they going to do to stop Patrick Mahomes? The Bills are going to get some points. There's no doubt about that. The Chiefs might be able to name their total, and that will probably be enough to win this game. We'll talk about it throughout the week on 580 Sports Talk. It'll be tough for the Chiefs off a short week and then going to Buffalo. I understand all of those things. This right now, the way they are playing, and don't give me record, don't give me that. In terms of the way you are playing on a week-to-week basis right now, Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. And I would love for it to be this team right here, pretty darn close. But right now it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And if they are going to play like this against another team that people don't want to talk about it because the quarterback is awesome, but the Bills defense really not very good. Like, this team can beat absolutely anybody on their schedule if they're getting a matchup like this.
Maybe not a complete 1 through 4 quarter performance, but when it was complete complete domination. 28-7, the Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Washington Commanders tonight. Their 5th win in 6. They are 5-3 going to Buffalo next Sunday afternoon. We'll have more about it on 580 Sports Talk tomorrow from 3 until 6 on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, 580WIBW.com, and these same video channels. Remember, give us a like and a subscribe over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and also slam that like button on our Facebook page, WIBW News, for more video content just like this. For Brendan Dzwierzynski. I'm Dan Lucero. This has been a Kansas City Chiefs Instant Reaction from the 580 Sports Talk crew on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. Have a great rest of your Monday night. Go watch the World Series.